You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everyone! Fast and Furious 6 is coming out this Friday, and you know what that means? It's another edition of Don't F with the Original with...
Nicholas, I'm the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. Now, as you might have guessed, we're going to talk about Fast and Furious, or rather The Fast and the Furious, as opposed to Fast and Furious, which is actually the fourth part of the Fast and Furious series. And
Sexology is it now?
Exology.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's a... Who cares? Because they're doing part 7 anyway.
Oh, really?
So let's not waste any time, because there's a lot of movies to talk about, but we're mostly going to focus on the original, because that's the name of our show.
Yeah.
And why don't you tell us, Nick, what The Fast and the Furious is about?
Well, it's about an undercover agent. I think it's a cop working with the FBI as well, and they're trying to stop a gang that is robbing trucks using awesome precision driving to steal the trucks. Basically, they knock out the driver and they steal the merchandise. So he goes undercover to the in the world of street racing to try and figure out who's responsible and put a stop to it.
And that cop is played by Paul Walker.
Yeah,
and I use the words "play by" quite loosely.
He was okay.
Oh, really? I thought he was terrible. Yeah. And the robbers that he investigates are played by Vin Diesel as the leader, and
Michelle Rodriguez.
Who
was terrible.
And it was directed by Rob Cohen, of whom I am not a big fan personally.
Okay.
All right, I'll just go ahead and say it. That movie was a big deal when it came out. It was muscle cars and heat and hot girls and Vin Diesel, who's incredibly charismatic at that point in his career. There was something magnetic about him. Now he's sort of a little bit of a joke, but at the time there was something really compelling about his presence. And all of my friends loved it because they're into cars and whatnot. Yeah. And I came out of that movie just being like, ugh, this was unpleasant. I feel like taking a shower after this. I thought it was really unpleasant.
I got angry.
Okay.
Really angry because it you cannot say that this does not glorify street racing. It's a movie about street racing, and it glorifies it. And at the time, I was at ASU in Arizona, and they usually had maybe one death per semester or so. Somebody got hit by street racers or people who were speeding on the street.
Oh my god!
I mean, I remember the worst event that happened. It was on a street that I crossed every night, crossing roughly at the same time, and the person got hit so hard she got cut in half. Okay.
Oh my god.
And I'm just thinking that could have been me. And that's all because people are street racing. And, I'm sure that kind of culture and these kinds of movies encourage that kind of behavior because cars are cool and racing is fun. And that just watching that just made me really, really angry.
And I agree with what you're saying. Now, obviously, we're both people who advocate against the notion that somehow horror movies or violent video games make you violent or whatnot, or will make you start grabbing a gun and shooting people. Yeah. So it's a sort of interesting dichotomy between our stance with, the street racing movies and street racing culture. But I think there is an important difference between the two.
Because in the horror movie, the person that does the killing is a deformed, ugly villain that nobody aspires to be like. Nobody watches Freddy and says, he's cool, I want to be as cool as him. No, he's a monster. He's supposed to be a monster. Whereas in this movie, it's really oh, look, I have a cool car, I'm a cool person, I have this cool swagger about me, and, I race very well, and I'm awesome because of it. They really portray the street racers as awesome people.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite. It's completely wrong for me.
Yeah, and I think there's also the subtlety that they present street racing as this way of being a rebel without there being any victims.
Yeah.
But like you say, street racing does kill people on a regular basis, which the movie completely hides.
Yeah.
And on top of that, for me, these guys are robbers as well. And he tried to present that as they're robbing from the man who's faceless and therefore doesn't count. And I'm like, well, that guy you robbed just lost his job. And, and he almost died for it too. He's going to come home to his family a little bit messed up. And, all of those things are just sort of glossed over. It's no, street racing is completely victimless. And the people who are against it are just the men who don't understand coolness. And you're like, no, that's not the reality of it.
And I will give them that. Okay, they made something really super fictionalized in the first street race where they had like all these cars blocking all the other, streets, so nobody could actually go into the race. So yeah, if street racing was actually like that, I would have no problem with it. But that's not how it is in real life. And also in the movie, all the other times they street race, they do it in traffic when there are other cars. It's only like the first race, it's all blocked off and it's quote unquote safe. All the other times they street race, there are other cars, there are people that could lose their lives. It's really dangerous.
Yeah. Let's get into the details of the movie, setting aside our, let's call them, politics about it. And we're on the same page for the area. Even on a technical level, I don't like the movie, I have to say.
Yeah.
I do find that Vin Diesel does a good job in it. He's very charismatic. He's very interesting. But I do feel they overplay his macho appeal to a point where it's just ridiculous and almost contradictory. Like, he's like, yeah, we're all about family. I'm a family man and I'm a rebel, but I have a heart of gold because I care about family. Like, Jordana Brewster plays his sister and he cares a lot about her. He cares a lot about his crew, his girlfriend, Michelle Rodriguez, who's like... I don't care. Like, I don't know what it is about Michelle Rodriguez, but anything she's in, I'm like, my God, she's hot. Like, I don't, and it's not like she's physically a goddess like a lot of actresses are in Hollywood. Like, she's a very normal, good-looking woman, but just for me, she's like, I instantly turned on as soon as she shows up on screen.
That's good, because besides that, she was completely useless in this movie.
But she has presence. That's the thing, though. Like, I cared about her character just because it's like Michelle Rodriguez is playing her, right? And that has pretty much been the history of Michelle Rodriguez's career as a whole. It's like, who are you? Well, I'm pretty much stunt girl number 3, but I'm played by Michelle Rodriguez, so you're gonna care.
Yeah, I guess.
But, so he's all about the family thing, and then after the credits, they have that bit where it's like, I'm a lone rebel, and I'm always alone, driving in the desert. And it goes, nobody understands me. It's like, well, you just said you were a family man. You weren't alone 5 minutes ago. Like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, it's just because he's regurgitating every macho cliche the screenwriter could think of. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's even his character, he tries to pass him out as like he's this really nice guy, but, you eventually learn the FBI shows a picture of he beat this guy with a wrench, and he got 2 years for it. And Vin Diesel tries to pass out like, it was a one-time thing, it's a one-time incident, it was, because he got really angry. And then later on, one guy, accused him of, narking on him. And he punches him out like, the same way. I was like, well, was it a one-time thing? Or are you that violent like that all the time? What are you trying to do here? What's happening?
The movie doesn't really construct things very well. And again, keep in mind, we're talking about that movie specifically. We'll get into that character's arc in terms of the series, because then it becomes more interesting. Okay. We'll get to that later. But in terms of that movie, it's sort of like, they want him to be a badass, anti-hero, cool as ice, type of gangster dude, a gangster with an A, not E-R.
Yeah.
That people will totally get into. At the same time, they want to make him the hero of the piece, which it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Now, if he's the hero of the piece, what does that make Paul Walker? I guess sort of a Nick Carraway sort of character.
Yeah. He's the protagonist. He's the point of view character, basically. He's there.
And again, like his whole arc with like, I'm learning to like these crooks, so maybe I'm trying to decide which side I'm on. It's like that barely makes any sense either, because like, as likable as they are, so are your cop colleagues.
Yeah.
So,
and they're upholding the law, so I like them a lot more.
Yeah. And he's not really placed in any real dilemmas other than, I kind of like this dude. Yeah. Like, it's not a real dilemma, Like, a real dilemma is if the police were starting an operation that would get this guy that you don't find is that bad, even though he's a criminal, and would get that guy killed somehow. Because, okay, that becomes a dilemma that you can see in the movie.
Or like the fake dilemma that they try and put at one point. They go to another crew's garage and they find like a bunch of DVDs that they think are stolen, like DVD players, like a whole lot of them. And they say, well, I guess it's the other crew. And, that could have been the dilemma. Maybe the cops don't believe them. No, it's not them. But, they actually arrest the other crew. And for some reason, all those DVD players that were in the garage were all bought legitimately. So we're supposed to believe that the other crew bunch a whole ton of DVDs and they just stored them in the garage for some reason or another, just as a red herring, I guess, because the movie needed one, is just completely built very poorly that way. It's like, I thought that's where they were going at least, okay, no, it's the other crew and the police don't believe them, but no, the other crew is it's really Vin Diesel who's the bad guy, so you're supposed to arrest him, do your job. That's what you're there for.
Yeah, and no, it's like those are the right words. It is poorly constructed.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have the badass gangsta guy be like the true hero because he's a rebel, you have to show some cop corruption. You can't just have the cops be completely reasonable and go like, well, F the police. It's like, well, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah. The only thing that the cops were like unreasonable is that they wanted results fast. And if that's
God forbid.
Yeah, I know. And there was a reason for that, because they were robbing trucks and the truckers were arming themselves because they were, tired of that.
Yeah. Oh no, the cops are trying to resolve the situation before people get killed.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I know. Before the gang that's robbing the truck get killed, they're trying to arrest them for their own good, basically, So, oh my God, you can't do that.
I find there's too much CGI in some of the action scenes. I do find that car racing movies, or just car stunt movies, I should call them, should use real cars. When you start using the computer for that stuff, it sort of loses its appeal.
When you're using a nitrous boost and you see speed lines like you're going faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, it's totally a Star Wars shot.
Exactly. That's when I just start laughing. It's like, okay, planes go faster than light, and when I'm in the plane, I don't see the light. The lights going away in the background. Going super fast. No, you still see stuff normally. You don't see the speed lights. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little bit over the top. Although, in fairness, when I was in France, and I was driving on a highway. Yeah. You've lived there too. You know that in Europe they'll drive considerably faster than we do here.
Yeah. Especially
on the highway. And there were like two cops, cyclists.
Yeah.
Like on their motorcycles, and they were zipping by everyone because they were pursuing someone. And it was the middle of the night. And as they zipped by me and zipped by the other cars, the light actually trailed behind them because they were going so fast. So there is that effect. Even
but that's because of the glass, really. And I guess, but it was the light only. You didn't see a stretched out motorcycle.
Oh yeah, no, it's over the top. But yeah. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
Nitro things that does exist. By the way, I know Richard Roper, when he reviewed the movie on Ebert and Roper, said that was complete nonsense. No, that actually exists.
Yeah. Completely illegal, but it does exist.
And the action is structured weird. It does escalate, which is good. Like, Rob Cohen, you did something good. You do escalate the action scenes. The set pieces go more and more outlandish as the movie progresses, and that I did like. But it's just cars going fast. The amount of stunts are actually quite limited.
Yeah, and the one scene that was not cars going fast, when they're trying to rob the last truck, and the trucker has a shotgun because they want to defend themselves, and he starts shooting at them. Did not work for me because I was kind of rooting for the trucker. Really, it's like the guy's trying to steal him, and he's defending himself. I was like, good for you.
I didn't have that problem because I was following the logic of the movie. I just came out of the movie going I disapprove of the logic of the movie.
Okay, yeah.
I was in for the ride. I think it does convey its warped logic well enough that you can follow it. There are other movies where I've had the opposite reaction, where I'm like, no, but even by the logic of what the movie, consider a good guy, your good guy's a bad guy. You know?
I know what you're talking about.
Actually, Born Supremacy is one of those movies where he wants to apologize for killing people, therefore we understand that killing people, even for your government, is bad.
Yeah.
And to apologize, he's getting a whole bunch of people killed.
Yeah.
It's so within even the logic of what you consider right and wrong, your hero's a bad guy. Whereas in this movie, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Alright, we've got some time. Let's go through the entire series, because I actually like the Fast and Furious series as a whole. Despite the very, I would say, mediocre first entry. I understand that it's about fast cars, cool dudes, and hot girls.
Yeah.
You got the fast cars, definitely they're there, and they are cool cars. If you're a fan of cars, they've got some nice machinery.
Exactly.
The actors that they chose, Vin Diesel is really cool. Paul Walker is very pretty. I think he's very wooden as an actor, and I have little patience for him in general, but there you go. And the girls are super hot. They really are.
Yeah.
And they're sort of filming that Michael Bay-ish sort of way where, like, for some reason they're always sweaty.
It's hot in Southern California. Come on.
I'm not complaining. It's like, that's what the movie's about, and I enjoyed that part of the movie.
Well, you're going to have to walk me through them because I didn't see any. The first one, if the first one's broken, I'm not going to keep going and seeing the other one for me. So
Okay, well, I will recommend some of them to you, but not the first sequel, called Too Fast, Too Furious with the number 2, because they're Too Fast and Furious to spell correctly.
Indeed.
So it follows Paul Walker going undercover again.
Really?
Yeah. And enlisting an ex-con friend of his, Tyrese, to investigate another bunch of stunt racing criminals who are this time a lot meaner. Like, they border on terrorism.
Okay.
And it's all about the bromance between Paul Walker and Tyrese.
Those are fun sometimes.
Like, it's when I say bromance, I mean bromance. Like, this is not a bro friendship. This is a bromance.
Nice.
And I think John Singleton was sort of taking the piss just a little bit and going like, I'm going to make this as gay as possible.
Oh my god.
And on that level, I have to say those are the best parts of the movie. Where their friendship borders on homoeroticness in a campy, deliberate way. I'm like, okay, I'm into this now. Because it also redefines the first movie where Paul Walker, he went out with Jornada Brewster, but he was really eyeing Vin Diesel. You know what I mean? So on that level, pretty fun. But the thing is, it's a mess in terms of the actions. The stunts are like cut really heavily, and so you don't see anything.
I think it's the first one you got to see the stunts. I'll give it that.
And the story barely makes any sense because so a skip. That one, a skip. And in fact, I would argue it's probably the worst of the series.
Okay.
The third one is where things start getting interesting because then they hired Justin Lin, who did Better Luck Tomorrow, which was an independent film about delinquency in the Asian community.
Okay. Which
was an interesting idea because he exposed something that's very real and sort of dramatized it in a film noir sort of way with Better Luck Tomorrow. And I'm going to review that movie quickly because it's actually technically part of the series.
Nice.
Better Luck Tomorrow is about these kids, Asian Americans who, deal drugs, go party at night and do all these delinquent things, these terrible things, and eventually get involved in murders and whatnot, all under the nose of their parents as long as they get A's. If they get straight A's, their parents think their kids are doing well, and they forget to raise them, essentially.
Okay.
Which is, I find, an astute satire of Asian American culture to some degree. I mean, the movie singles out Asian American culture, and I sort of am going along with it, but it's a problem that's spread towards many communities.
Yes, it is.
It's an interesting movie, and it goes over the top in a very deliberate, calculated way. It's a very smart, independent film.
Okay.
And it was just refreshing to see, like, oh, look, a movie about Asian Americans. Like, there are Asian American stars in America. Who would have thought? You would never know from watching the average Hollywood movie.
Hey, there was an Asian in Harold and Kumar.
Anyway, there's one character in that movie that Justin Lin took and made the sort of Han Solo of his Fast and Furious movie, which is called Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
He's a Korean character, Han, played by Sun Kang, who has now moved to Tokyo, or whatever. And he hooks up with this white dude who has also moved in Tokyo, and they do the car racing stuff and get involved in crime and whatnot.
Okay.
Now, I like that movie. That movie's really good. It's low budget. It's very low budget. Like, it borders on straight to video, if you know what I mean.
Okay, well, after the second one, I can see why.
Yeah. But what's kind of interesting about it is that, it goes back to realistic car culture. Tokyo Drift is a real phenomenon, and that's when you go into those like spiral-shaped parking lot things.
Yeah, the ramps.
The ramps, exactly. You stop the engine and your car just sort of drifts in circle, and that's what Tokyo Drift is. And it's particular to Japanese culture because everything's so tight and all that, so you can actually pull that off.
Okay, yeah. No speed lines when they're drifting.
No speed lines. No. And the cool thing about it as well is that you have this rebel, stupid kid who wants to get into this because he likes racing, and then gets involved in organized crimes as a side effect of it, and he tries to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then the character from Better Luck Tomorrow I was telling you about, spoiler alert, people, ends up dying.
Oh.
Because, hey, you get involved in crime, you die.
Yeah.
That's the price you pay. So already it has its morals better set.
Already a good moral, kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Justin Lin brought a sense of like, enough with that childish rebel stuff, there's right and there's wrong, this is wrong,
Yeah.
So that's the third movie. It's again, it's very low budget. If you're the kind of person who likes straight to video movies, you'll enjoy this. It has good ideas. It's actually about cars. It's got interesting characters, if not a particularly inspired story.
Okay.
Fourth movie.
Fast and Furious is the fourth one?
Yeah, Fast and Furious. They removed the determiners because...
It's faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the producers really like what Justin Lin did with the Tokyo Drift. It didn't make a lot of money because it had no stars in it.
Yeah.
But he dug it, so they hired him again to do Fast and Furious, and they were like, but this time you're going to bring back the original cast because they're the moneymakers.
Yeah, I guess.
Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and whatnot are the people that people want to see. And at the same time, they're not expensive because they have the careers of Vin Diesel and Paul Walker.
So that's why he accepted to come back, Vin Diesel.
Yes. Well, actually, he was in the third one as a cameo.
Oh, okay.
Where he reveals that he's a friend of the Han Solo character.
That's cool.
What's interesting is here we're back to the original setup. Paul Walker is an honest cop. Vin Diesel is a bad stealer of cars.
Yeah.
So we have the same dynamic as in the first movie, except through the lens of Justin Lin, who knows right from wrong.
Okay, that seems interesting already.
Yeah, no, it is. And so Paul Walker starts off going after Vin Diesel, and they eventually end up teaming up because it turns out that Vin Diesel realizes right from wrong.
Okay.
But he's been so entrenched in the criminal world that getting out of it, not quite as easy as it could have been. And then there's corruption in the police, so because the criminals actually bought the police, so Paul Walker and Vin Diesel sort of end up on the wrong side of the law to do the right thing.
Okay.
So, all right, okay.
That's good.
Yeah, like... and
it's done well.
Yeah, it is done well. The downside to that, there's the first opening scene where there's a truck heist, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is a lot of CGI to make up for the fact that they didn't have a budget to afford cool cars and stuff.
Okay. So
the final fight, if you will, is particularly ridiculous because it's completely CGI and it's like it looks like a stupid video game. It's like it's really badly shot.
Well, in that case, so just take like Mattel, Hot Wheels or something, and just do stop motion at this point. At least the Hot Wheels are real. Seriously.
Yeah, no, it's not great. Interesting tidbit: Han, who died in the third one, shows up.
Okay.
And you're like, what happened there? So the running theory is that Fast and Furious 4 takes place before Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
Which I think that's the running theory. And since he shows up in 5 and 6 as well, then all of these movies take place before Tokyo Drift. Tokyo Drift is somehow the last one, even though by the time number 6 is coming out this year, the Tokyo Drift phenomenon has been long forgotten, but
hipsters are still going to be Tokyo drifting.
Exactly.
We used to do that before it was cool.
And they've been entertaining that theory subtly without ever mentioning it, but I actually suspect that Han didn't actually die and maybe faked his death or something.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It was all a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Michelle Rodriguez dies in Fast and Furious.
Really?
Yeah, she dies.
Okay. Well, she was useless anyways.
It's weird because they treat the death as sort of a weird afterthought where they learn, oh yeah, she died. Like, she died? Just like, and then you see a flashback because Vin Diesel is looking at the scene of the crime, trying to piece together what must have happened to her. So it's like, you don't even know that that's what happened to her.
She was a terrible driver anyway. I mean, slight spoiler alert, but in the first one, when she's trying to save the guy from the trucker who's shooting them, she says, okay, I'll save the guy. And she basically just drives into the wheel of the pickup truck. You know, the pickup truck's driving straight, and she just drives at the wheel and flips her car. And like, how are you part of that crew of precision drivers if you can't not drive in the truck? Seriously.
So when Fast Fives comes up, no Michelle Rodriguez.
Okay. She doesn't come back? She's alive.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, no. Oh, come on. Come on.
So part 5 kicks in, and part 5 is my favorite so far. Of the bunch, it is fan-freaking-tastic.
Well, it has The Rock. Everything with The Rock is good.
And at this point, Justin Lin's plan to transform the Fast and Furious universe from, like, rebel gangsta racers into, essentially, road pirates in a fantasy universe a la Pirates of the Caribbean is on full throttle. Like, this is not even a racing movie. It's a heist movie.
Okay.
And so they end up in Brazil, which looks strangely like Monaco, but because it was filmed in Monaco.
Why not, you know?
Yeah.
So what did they drove all the way from California to Brazil with their car, or did they buy new cars over there?
They switched cars and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Why not?
Yeah,
you know, you pump $100,000 in your car, just buy another one somewhere else, you know.
So Vin Diesel finds himself in the thralls of yet another super criminal, and that he has to stop. The Rock shows up as like the cop with his unit, who's going to stop the Vin Diesel criminals because you know he always gets his man.
Yeah.
So and they do a heist to steal the money from the evil drug lord thing as a retaliation for him trying to kill them. Really stupid.
Okay.
It's really dumb. Also, to pull off the heist, Vin Diesel calls on all of his friends from all the previous Fast and Furious movies, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
They have an Israeli woman from Fast and Furious 4. They got Sun Kang from Tokyo Drift. Yeah. They've got Tyrese and Paul Walker from Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah. Resuming their little love affair. It's kind of
nice.
Cute. Yeah, it's really cute because they play it off as like Tyrese is going like, "Why are you always hanging out with Vin Diesel for? Like, what's going on over there?" Like, it's really, really funny.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so the whole bunch is back, and they're doing the thing, and they eventually team up with, of course, The Rock. But The Rock is still after them because he's uncorruptible.
Yeah, he's The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. It works out. It's really fun. It has this gloriously fantastic final set piece where the cars are driving away with like a vault, which like would never happen in real life because the vault is heavier than the car. You know what I mean? Like
Newton would not approve.
Like it makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. And then they start using the vault as a weapon by like spinning around the cars, and the vault follows suit and it hits the other cars with.
Who are the drivers? Vin Diesel and Paul Walker?
Of course.
Oh god. Of course. I guess, you know.
It's like it's complete nonsense. Like it's complete and utter nonsense. But it is so cool to watch. It's super well shot. You can't tell CGI from real stunts because he this time he had the budget to mix the two, and it's really well done. It's cool. Really fantastically done. Mm-hmm. You know the vault is CGI just because it doesn't leave any trail on the road behind.
Oh, that's silly. Now I can't watch it. I'm just going to notice that the whole time and think, wow, this is so stupid.
But other than that, it's pretty freaking fantastic in terms of action filmmaking. You leave your brain at the door, excuse me.
Okay.
But it's fantastic. And here's the thing. It ends with a post-credit little bit where the cop, Eva Mendes from Too Fast, Too Furious, meets up with The Rock, who's still trying to catch Vin Diesel. You know?
Yeah.
And she gives him a dossier, and she goes like, "You want to check that out?" And he's like, "Is it about Vin Diesel?" He's like, "No, I don't want it." He's like, "You're gonna want it." And he opens, and it's Michelle Rodriguez doing heists in Germany.
Oh my god! Why Germany?
Because the next one is gonna be set in Europe.
Oh my god!
that's where we're at with Fast and Furious 6, which is coming out this Friday.
So what's the story going to be about?
Well, and here's what I love about it. Justin Lin has been slowly rehabilitating these characters from hardened criminals that you're supposed to like to actual likable characters.
Yeah.
And now he's gone full circle with this. Because now that they've had a taste of doing the right thing, they've stopped being criminals altogether. They have their lives. And then The Rock comes over and finds Vin Diesel in the trailer and goes like, yeah, found you. It's like, I wasn't hiding. You know, it's like that, well, okay, that makes you an idiot. But
yeah, good point.
And he goes like, I need your help because he wants to stop the Michelle Rodriguez super violent crew, but he needs an expert crew to do it because normal cops can't do the crazy stuff that Vin Diesel's crew can do.
Of course not.
So
yeah.
He's gonna issue them a full pardon if they become super driver agents for the government to catch the bad guys.
The government never has enough driver agents.
I know, but like at that point it's like, oh my god, like these are the origins of MI6 in Mission Impossible. Like this is completely bonkers, but I'm all over that. That's what I want from Fast and Furious at this point.
Okay.
Is it stupid? Yes. Is it awesome? Yes.
I think though this, for the movies to keep going, you need to fuck with the original. And they're, from what you're saying, they're doing a good job of, actually saying, maybe, the whole glorified street racing criminal thing is not a great thing, just go towards the, the better part. And that actually sounds more like a series I would enjoy watching than the first one. I mean, you can still have the attitude, the Vin Diesel attitude that, you're cool and you're above, other things, but, kind of slightly changed from criminals to being, lawful. Yeah. I completely buy that.
Oh, the wrench thing. I forgot in Fast and Furious 5. In the first movie, he went to jail for hitting somebody with a wrench, and then he almost did it again. In the fifth movie, they have this dramatic moment where he's fighting with The Rock, and he grabs a wrench and is about to beat the shit out of the cop with his wrench. And his sister and Paul Walker is like, no, don't do it! And it's like, don't be the same jerk you used to be. And he's like, I'm not that guy anymore, and drops the wrench. And it's like, it was sort of a nice touch of like, we're presenting you a new version of this character, but it's part of an ongoing evolution that took place throughout the
he still had the reflex of grabbing the wrench, but it's like... But, I mean, honestly, that's what you need to beat The Rock, because he is The Rock.
I know. And in Fast and Furious 5, or Fast 5, I should say, he looks gigantic. He's all muscle and they spray him with oil in every shot. He looks ridiculous. You look at him and he's towering over everyone. And he has those ridiculously awesome lines where, he's like, I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want first, The Rock? And he's like, come on. You know I like my dessert first. And it's like, then he gives him the good news. And it was like, okay, give me the veggies. That's hilarious. That's so over the top.
It's good to hear a 6-foot giant say, give me the veggies. It's spectacular. Now you made me want to watch Fast 5 quickly. Yeah. So, 4 and 5 are probably on my to-watch list before Friday.
That's where I'd say you should start. Absolutely. Okay. And keep in mind, it's a progression. Because Justin Lin had to sort of slowly... rehabilitate the characters. So 4, they're still relatively unlikable, but getting there, and then 5, they're actually kind of likable, and then 6, they'll be doing the right thing,
Yeah, because if he just switches them at 4, and all of a sudden they're cops, all of them, it just seems weird.
yeah, exactly. What fascinates me about it is I've never seen a series so stupid and so concerned about continuity. You know what I mean? It's a series where people are driving with vaults in the back of their cars. This is not a series that you need to take seriously. And yet, Justin Lin and his screenwriter, they're like, wait. Would Vin Diesel do that yet at this point in his life? It's, the characters are so studied, and it's just such a stupid series at the same time.
You don't want, fanboy backlash. Vin Diesel wouldn't do that at this point. He still needs 2 years to rehabilitate himself completely.
But yes, to follow it on the question that you answered, will it F with the original? Well, yeah, it already has. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what makes Fast and Furious so fascinating to me, is to see a young auteur who made this brilliant independent film going like, yeah, I'm gonna do Fast and Furious movies now, which is like already a weird choice.
Yeah.
And going at it not as a studio hack, like not going like, I'm getting my paycheck and I'm doing a Fast and Furious movie and then I'm going to fund my independent films. No, he's actually taking the thing seriously and appropriating it to himself and rehabilitating the characters to something that fits his vision and his ownership, and even bringing in characters from his independent movie. Like that's such a weird thing.
Nice.
So yeah, it effed with the original, and for the better. It's fantastic.
I guess we should basically actually F with the previous one, which is the fifth one. And no, it should keep on the same way, continue. I like it when they keep on going with the storyline, or else there's no point in having it a series. You're just using the name for money and, just recognition, which is completely pointless. If you're going to have a series of movies, keep going with the story and do it in an intelligent way. And that's what they seem to be doing. So I'm really for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring an interesting point about the thing of continuing the story. Because, most sequels, they continue the story in terms of like, this new adventure takes place after this adventure. But here the characters are different after every installment because their past experiences have taught them something that informs who they are by the time the next movie begins. And that's sort of very rare and really welcome. I like the idea of characters growing. Like, I wouldn't want that everywhere. Like, James Bond should always be James Bond. I don't want him to grow movie after movie.
No.
I mean, he does a little bit with the Daniel Craig thing, and I think that's just enough. That's about as much as I want. But, for other series, I like the idea that, the previous adventure actually matters. And the idea of the rehabilitation of the characters and having separated Michelle Rodriguez from that, and she's gone into even more corruption, sort of emphasizes that the characters have grown, whereas she hasn't.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting conflict there. I'm like, all right, go for this semi-Shakespearean stuff, but with muscle cars. I'm all for that.
Shakespearean stuff with muscle car. That is awesome. And on that note,
if you have questions, comments, you want to share with us your love or hatred of Fast and Furious, you can mail us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment at idiomanic.com. Until next time.
See you later.